Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Eating at a Meeting. I'm your host, Tracy Stuckrath. So, yesterday was Valentine's Day, and February is all about heart health, and that's really what I want to focus on today with my guest here, Wendy. We, our hearts are so important for us to survive, right? But we, like yesterday, it's giving the love that we have for everybody through our hearts, but making sure that our hearts are healthy is the most important thing so that we can share our love with each other. A stat that I shared yesterday going into this podcast episode was from the CDC that says heart disease is the leading cause of death in women in the United States, killing 1 in every 5 females about every 80 seconds. I mean, that's crazy to me. That's not even a minute and a half. And so Wendy here is a survivor of 2 heart attacks. I'm so glad that we have you on the show and that you survived them. And so we're going to talk about what happened with those 2 heart attacks, how she is still here today, and then what she does to make sure that it doesn't happen again. So, hi, Wendy.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here. And I am really grateful that you're here and that you did survive those 2 heart attacks. Before we jump in, I really kind of just want to start with the story that you were just telling me about going to the ER for the first time that you had a heart attack. And I want to also point out that the heart attacks were 11 years apart. Is that right?
Yeah. So my first one, I was 41 years old, and I could lose 5-10 pounds, sure, but I'm not what you would typically think of as a normal heart attack person. So I worked out at the time. I was running about 20 miles a week, and when I walked in, the doctor, I was passing most of the tests. So my EKG was a little off, but as the ER doc said, it could be the difference between lying down or standing up. So it was not screaming at them, this woman is having a heart attack. And then if any of you have ever been through the process, you know that they do blood enzymes. So they take blood, and then a couple hours later they take it again. I was not throwing those enzymes that indicate you're having a heart attack. But they had called the cardiologist in. I told him my story. I was having shortness of breath. I had been not feeling well for a long time. This was a couple of months after Expo. So for those of you in the industry know about Expo. I had been to Expo, and I felt like I never recovered from, when you come home from the show and you're tired and dragging, and many of us get sick. You get the convention cough, and you come home and you just, do I have the flu? Do I have mono? Do I have, just the winter sick? And
Right.
I just was not getting over it. I couldn't run as well. I just was dragging and just couldn't shake it. And so I thought, what is going on? What is wrong? Why am I having such a hard time breathing? Why can't I run? Why, and I complained about that to him, and I was having heavy chest feeling, just like somebody was sitting on my chest, and left arm pain, and nausea, bad nausea. So he said, your story is good. I feel like I want to take you to cath lab, and explain the risks to me about that. And so I said, if I was your wife, what would you do? And he said, you'd go to cath lab. So
Wow.
we went to cath lab, and we'll just look. He said sometimes it's just, going in there and doing the angioplasty or whatever. Sometimes just sending the thing through is enough to push any blockage if there is some blockage, and we'll be in and out and you'll be fine. And so I'm in the cath lab and I hear them talking, and then I hear them saying, we're placing the stent now. And I felt like I'm going, who placing the stent on who? What are we talking? Who are you talking about? And we came out, and he said you had your LAD was blocked. You were basically having what they call the widowmaker, which is, if I had gone home that night, I would have probably died. I had,
Wow.
the biggest heart attack you you have, essentially. So I was really lucky. And for the next day in the hospital, people are coming in and sticking their head in. I heard about your case. I heard about your case. I want to see you, and it was like I was the three-headed woman at the county fair, that nobody could believe my case because I was just not what you were expecting. And I credit him for saving my life, that something in his gut just told him I needed to go to the lab. And I'm really lucky.
You are. I mean, and it's amazing that sometimes it's having that right person at the right time in
Mhm.
your life to recognize that, or to say, "Hey, this doesn't feel right to me." You don't, what you're experiencing, because we go to the doctor a lot of times and says, "This doesn't feel right to me," and they're just like
Yeah,
skirt it off.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is my brother's an ER doc, and we talked about it, how many times does he send somebody away, like me, who's,
Mhm.
anxiety, it's a woman who,
Right.
and they rethink that now. I tell you, that is something that has changed in the ER. So if you come in with chest pain, they are going to give you a workup because so many women die of heart attacks. So
Wow.
if you're thinking that, if there's anything I can get across to anybody today, if you are having the symptoms of a heart attack, if you are having chest pain, if shortness of breath, left arm pain, pain in your shoulders, in your back, shoulder blade pain, these are symptoms of heart attacks for women. And call 911, call 911, get to the hospital and get checked out. And don't think it might be anxiety. It's, I don't want to bother somebody. I don't, go to the hospital and get checked out because women die just as much as men do of heart attack, and go get checked.
Wow. Well, and Suzanne just Morel just piped in. She's the perfect example that it happened to her here in next year. She just said, she's like, I thought I was having a migraine, and well, you know the rest. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's it. Headache, because you have the headache, you have the nausea. Those are typical symptoms.
Well, and I was telling you, I went to the doctor a couple of months ago because I was having the pain down in my right shoulder or my right arm. And I'm like, okay, I need to get checked out because I think I knew that was one of the symptoms of it, but it is just, it's been a continuous thing. So I
Mhm.
don't, and they're like, nope, you're fine. Your EKGs are all good. But there again, you just said your EKGs were good and
Mhm.
it was still, you could have had a heart
Yeah.
attack. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And in fact, I had that my son was living at home at the time, and he was studying for his paramedic license, and he called 911 on me the night before, and
Wow.
I refused to go with them
Oh,
because,
wow.
yeah, because I thought, it's silly. My husband had a flight the next morning, and I knew I'd be at the hospital till 2 in the morning, and he had a 6 a.m. flight, and blah, blah, blah. I didn't want to put anybody out. So I promised I would go after I dropped him off at the hospital or at the airport. I said, well, I'll go to the hospital after I drop you off at the airport. And
Wow.
I am so lucky. I am so lucky.
Well, and Suzanne just piped in that hers was a hemorrhagic, did I say that right?
Oh,
Stroke.
stroke. Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
So, which has a whole variety of
Hmm.
other challenges when you come out of that, right?
Hmm.
So, I can't wait to see you next month in Florida, Suzanne. So, because we're going to a convention, which is what the three of us do for a
Right,
living.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then I mean, just going back to that story, how many times do you come home from a convention and you're
Hmm.
exhausted and now people think, it's COVID, it's automatically COVID,
Right.
or, and it could be something different. It could be what the two of you experienced.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So that happened. They put the stint in there, and then there's a video of you from that you did with the American Heart
Mhm.
Association, and I will share that with people if you're okay with me sharing
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
And you were on a bicycle ride with your husband,
Yeah.
in the mountains. Is that
No,
right?
we live in Madison, outside
Okay.
of Madison, Wisconsin, and it's a real hilly area, long hills. So, people who do the Ironman in Madison know that, it's one of the tougher bike courses because we have these long, long hills in the
Uh-huh.
area. So we were about 20 miles into a bike ride, and I had just climbed a hill, and we're at the top of the hill, and I had not felt I had not felt great that day, but we were getting ready to go to Alaska in a couple of weeks, and so we were trying to get exercise and get in shape for our Alaska trip,
Mhm.
because we do a lot of big hiking. And I got to the top of the hill, felt terrible, and stopped and unclipped, took a drank a bottle of water, and then I just had to lie down. So I lay down for half an hour, maybe even 15 minutes, half an hour, and we talked to a farmer who was out there and chatted with him for a bit. Got back on my bike and started to pedal, and I was losing vision. My vision was unclear. My again, the arm pain. I just couldn't even bike. But my vision was one of the big things. But severe pain, nausea, the whole works. And I wasn't sure if it was heat stroke or what was going on, but got to the bottom of the hill, found a tree to get off my bike and laid down, and told my husband, call 911. No,
Wow.
don't call 911. Call 911. Don't call 911. And then I made the foolish decision to send him to go get the car and come and get me instead of calling 911. So he got on his bike and rode about 8 miles home, and got the car and came back and got me. And then we went to the hospital, um, which was really dumb in hindsight. And we went to the little local hospital near us, and they checked me out, and my enzymes after the second blood test came back positive, and that coupled with the bad EKG, decided I was having what they call a STEMI. And so they put me, and they said all of a sudden the word STEMI comes out, and people start flying around the room. And my husband said, "What's going on?" And I said, "I'm having a heart attack. You need to go home and get my computer and get to the hospital." And they put me in an ambulance and took me to the hospital, by ambulance to the big hospital where they could take me again to the cath lab
Wow.
and get another stent. So,
Okay, so I want to know why you said go get my computer out of
because I
all
knew
of
because I knew I was going to be in the hospital for a while, and I needed I needed to be able to work.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, that makes me laugh so much. Um, okay, so in there you also said, I made the mistake of having my husband ride home 8 miles. How fast does he ride his bike 8 miles?
Eh, he talks about how bad that was. He rode very, very fast,
Yeah.
and I know he was terrified, and it was a horrible thing to do to him. It was an unbelievably horrible thing to do to him. I mean, I can't believe that I did that to him. Yeah,
Okay, now
because
you're
because
I
he yeah, because he didn't know, I could have been dead by the time he came back, and I'm out in the middle of the country, and or I could have he did leave me the phone, so I could have called 911, and
Mhm.
he could have come back and I was gone or dead or what, I mean, it was just a really bad thing to do to him.
Well, and being where you were would 911, I mean, I'm assuming 911 would have been faster just because it's 911, but where you were, was it 911 accessible out there?
It was,
Mhm.
they would have probably gotten there faster than he would have.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, they
Right.
certainly would have gotten there faster than he would have.
And you would have
Um,
had treatment in the ambulance as well. So yeah.
right,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, but I think that just goes to show too, or for anybody who has medical conditions, is having that buddy, that partner with you to understand what needs to be done, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And override us when we
yeah,
deny it. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, yeah, the kids were furious at him, and
Oh.
then I explained that it was me, it wasn't him,
Mhm.
and, uh and I just kept thinking, and this is the woman in me, and this is the lesson for all of you women out there, that, I just kept thinking, what if it's not? What if it's just heat exhaustion, and I'm being stupid, and I'm wasting all these resources by having an ambulance come and get me, and I just need some potassium, or I have a potassium deficiency, so maybe it's
Mhm.
just my potassium is low, and maybe it's that I'm exhausted. I'm heat exhaustion, and because it
Mhm.
was a hot day, and now I've wasted all these resources having an ambulance come and get me when maybe somebody else needed that ambulance, or it's not anything really bad, and now I've spent all this money and on this ambulance ride, and it was nothing, and so those are the things that I worry about as a woman, and that's
Mhm.
stupid.
Well, I think it's what we all worry about as women, and
Right.
especially as event planners too, because we're always on the go and we're always doing these things. It's like,
Yes.
nope, I'll just get to it later on,
Right.
right? Yeah.
Right. Right.
It actually reminds me of my friend Tanya's mom kind of had symptoms as the same way, and she ended up having a heart attack, and I'm pretty sure she survived, but still it's understanding those symptoms and not ignoring them
Yeah.
because they are some unique symptoms. They're not the ones that we typically think of. There's a heart, 100% heart pain or chest heavy in your heart or whatever. There's those other symptoms that you're having.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in the video, and I just shared the link, at least I shared it I'll share it on the LinkedIn one as well. But in the video, you say, I was so mad.
Mhm.
What were you so mad about?
I think I was mad because I feel like I do everything right. I think I do everything right, and then it
Mhm.
still happens to me. Um, but I also understand that that's why I'm alive, and that's why I've lived through them. If I
Mhm.
wasn't doing everything right, I would be dead. So I have to balance that, um, even though when that second heart attack happened and they said that that's what was happening to me, the first things out of my mouth were very bad swear words. Um, I just like,
Mhm.
why is this
Yeah.
happening again?
Mhm.
I just
Mhm.
why? I I exercise, I eat right, and here we
Mhm.
go again. Why is this? Why? And I there are a couple of things that you can control and some things you can't control. I have the genes. I've got the bad genes. There's nothing I can do about that. I'm getting older. There's
Mhm.
nothing you can do about that. It's,
Right.
it's that or the other. So I'll take getting older. Um,
Right.
so those are things you can't do anything about. But I can exercise. I can eat better. And I'm taking the medicine that I'm supposed to be taking. So uh, I'm doing what I can do, and I'm
Mhm.
and I'm still alive. I've survived twice, and I probably would not have had I not been doing those things.
Right. So how common is it for somebody to have multiple heart attacks?
It happens. It
Mhm.
happens, and I've talked quite a bit to my doctor about it, and because I always thought I was gonna get my grandma died of ovarian cancer, my great-grandma died of ovarian cancer. I was gonna get ovarian cancer, and that was my plan on how I was gonna die, And,
It's
and
not
then
funny to laugh at, but
no,
yes.
but
Yeah, yeah.
right,
Mhm,
you
mhm.
kinda think, and then all of a sudden I have a heart attack, and then I think I'm not gonna be an old lady, and and it makes me sad that I'm not gonna be an old lady. And so now I wanna do what I can to get as old as I can. My dad is who I take after. My dad has had a silent heart attack. He's had quadruple bypass. He's that's where I get it. But I'm just trying to do what I can,
Right.
and they want my cholesterol incredibly low, which is really hard to do. I take cholesterol medicine, but they want my LDL at 70, which
Oh,
anybody who
wow.
know yeah, so I don't know if anybody out there who watches their cholesterol, 70 is a hard number to come by. Even with meds, you've got to really be careful. So for me, that's no cheese, very little. I eat almost no dairy.
Okay.
And living in Wisconsin, no cheese is hard. If you
Right.
go out to eat, every dish has cheese on it, so you have to order everything special. Um, so um, and then be really careful on your meat. And
Hmm.
I love meat. I'm not a vegetarian, so I'm yeah, that's a change for me. So
Right. Yeah. So, so what do, because, okay, so I'll get this out. You work in the meetings industry. You work on the CAD for ExpoCAD, which is
mhm,
the company that designs the trade shows. So you're at trade shows a lot because you're
yep,
making sure that those trade shows are fitting into their design and executing well. So you have a stressful life in that. Just,
mhm,
I mean, meeting planners are known. Meetings industry is known to have the one of the top 5 most stressful
yeah.
jobs, which is not good. So, but you're on the road a lot. So, what do you do? Just kind of, you were talking about food. What do you do to stay healthy and not get cheese on every single thing? I think that's just a U.S. or a world thing too. Is we add
It
cheese to
is.
everything. So, how do you maintain your healthy eating habits while you're on the road?
Yeah. So some of the things that I do is I do try and stay, if I can, at a place that has a kitchen. So, or a
Mhm,
small sort of a little kitchenette, and I try to go to a grocery store when I get there
mhm,
and get some of my own food or bring as much of my own food as I can. So, some nuts and fruit, or I'll stay at Marriott. Happens to be, I think, has a great their M room, their club room,
mhm,
their breakfast. They do a good job of having berries and fresh fruit and um, oatmeal and hard
mhm,
boiled eggs. So it makes it easier to eat breakfast. If you can have a clean breakfast like that to
mhm,
start your day, I I normally don't eat breakfast at home, but when I travel, if I can eat breakfast and then skip lunch, because lunch is really hard, or
mhm.
just be able to pick at your lunch
Right.
because you're served so often just not good food and it's not their fault. I mean, it's hard, especially if you're at a big meeting lunch and they're serving 300, 500, 1,000 people. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just not feasible to serve quality food at those things. So if you can kind of pick at your salad and pick the things out of it that you can eat and not put much dressing on it, then maybe pick at the vegetables. You can maybe eat something, but even the vegetarian options are a lot of times, laden with cream sauce or something. They just
Mhm.
put um, weird things in the lunches. I think I have a hard time eating a lot of the food.
I agree
So
with you. Yeah.
yeah, it is. It's really hard to eat that food. So I
Mhm,
load up on a breakfast, of a lot of fruits and a hard-boiled egg maybe to get a little
mhm,
bit of protein in it at breakfast. And then with dinner, if I'm not eating back in my kitchen, if I have a kitchen, you can, if you can do that. But then just my coworkers kind of laugh at me because I ask a million questions of the wait staff.
mhm.
Are you doing
That's
it
what
in
I do.
olive oil? Yeah, are you doing it in
Mhm,
olive oil? Are you doing it in butter? Are don't put any butter on my bread on my, if I get a grilled chicken sandwich, then they butter the bread. They
mhm,
butter the bun. Please don't butter my bun. Please don't put butter on my vegetables, just steamed vegetables, no butter, no oil, no salt. So that's the other thing. Don't, make sure you're not, because they load stuff up with salt. So salt
mhm.
is really bad. So I don't want any salt on anything. I don't want any butter on anything. I don't even want oil on anything if you can avoid it. And um, and do I cheat? Yeah, I cheat. So I mean, sometimes you're out at a really, really nice restaurant, and it's you got to cheat once in a while. You've got
Right,
to eat that really nice meal if you're lucky enough to get taken out or you're
right.
per diem or whatever, and you're going to a fancy, really nice restaurant. Yeah, I cheat. And a lot of times I'll split a meal. If you can do that, split a meal with a friend, and then you're having the calories and the fat, and you're still getting to try that amazing, crazy good dinner.
Right. Yeah.
But you've saved all of those fat and calories at lunch and breakfast by eating a good breakfast and lunch. So that's kind of how I manage it.
Okay.
I try and do that. Your protein serving, should be like the size of your fist,
Okay.
um, or a deck of cards. A deck of cards is
Okay.
really a
Hmm.
better example. But and we're bad in this country about how much we eat, and we eat
Hmm.
way more protein than we need to. Um, that's the other thing that's really funny is everybody thinks we need all this protein. We really don't need that much protein. So my little baggie in my purse, I always have a baggie in my purse of nuts, of pistachios, walnuts, some almonds maybe, um, so that you don't get starving. So
Right.
eat a couple of nuts to tide you over, and I think it's super filling. If I have just a handful of nuts, I'm good for hours, and
Yeah.
then you don't go into a meal starving. So that helps, and then lots and lots and lots of water.
Yeah.
Um, and my rule is
Yeah.
absolutely no beverage with sugar, because sugar is the other evil,
Hmm.
evil, evil. So I avoid, I drink coffee and tea with um, plain coffee and tea.
Hmm.
Um, and
Well, it
Lent
sounds
is
like
coming up,
blend.
so
Okay. Hmm.
that is my so I grew up Catholic, and
Hmm.
so for me, and even if you're not, I think Lent is a good starting point to kick off
Hmm.
a new habit, because there's the guilt factor. So no sugar for Lent. Give up sugar for Lent. So don't add no and saccharin or sugar products,
Right.
alternatives count. None of that. So no diet product, no diet Pepsi, no diet Coke, no sugar for Lent, and it's a good way to start.
Yeah.
I think
Definitely.
that's how I started my weight loss program years ago. Is I did a whole Lent, 40 days, no alcohol, no sugar, because there's a lot of sugar in alcohol,
Yep.
and I try and do that every Lent.
That's a great idea. I was trying to do a no sugar going into the new year. I'm doing like 90% well.
Hmm.
So which is not bad. And I was 90% sugar
Yeah,
free in general, but
yeah.
doing it a little bit further as well. But you've mentioned salt, oil, and sugar, which is kind of the SOS
Hmm.
diet, which is really kind of scary because it's called SOS, help me, let's protect ourselves, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's really important. And I actually interviewed a chef, I think it was 2 years ago, April Cunningham out of Maryland, and she owns her own catering company, and she has a lot of clients. She actually had one client that asked her to do that. And then she referred all of her friends who were doing that. So she sautés things with broth and
Hmm.
water instead of the oil. And I know my friend Jim Spellows has gotten rid of oil completely from he and his wife have gotten rid of that from their diet as well. But it's salt, sugar, and oil.
Hmm.
And I think when you're looking at packaged foods, this is something for people to think about too. When you say it says low sugar on the front of the box, you need to go read that label, the white label on the side or the back,
Hmm.
because they've just upped the salt
Right.
and vice versa. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. What's the saying that we always talk about with as a software company? You can have it two or three ways: fast, cheap, or good. And and it's the same thing with food. You can either have it, you know, low sugar, low fat, or low salt, but pick two, because they're going to jack up one of them.
Hmm.
And that's what they do. Is it's got two out of three usually is to make it taste good.
Right.
So that's why you have to try and eat whole foods. So eat whole grains or fresh fruits and vegetables. But anytime they cook something or process it, they're
Yeah.
jacking in one or two of those items.
Right. Exactly. So it's shopping at the outside of the grocery store as well.
Mhm.
Suzanne just posted, well, okay, two things from Suzanne here. One, she was on the way to the airport when she had her stroke.
Oh,
Oops. So yuck. And so this next thing, looking at the brain health, brain healthy diets like keto and Mediterranean. I've been cold pressing juices too. Oh, that's great. Yep. Mediterranean diet is really good for you.
it is.
Yeah.
It is. And
Yeah.
they do, you do need some oil in your diet. So,
Mhm.
olive oil or, some fats in your diet. So
Mhm.
olive oil, a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of or like avocado is
Mhm.
good. They say, I mean, I'm not a nutritionist, but um, I, I do
Yeah.
use both of those
Mhm.
things for some fat because I think it does help satisfy you too.
Right.
Um, but
Yeah. Well, and I think looking at like vegetable oil, if you look at vegetable oil, it's not vegetable, it's soy, it's
mm,
soybeans. And so that's adding extra fat or extra protein into there as well.
mhm,
But it's definitely not vegetables. So
yeah.
um it's minimizing it and looking for ways to not, and actually here I am. I cooked something the other day with oil and butter in it. It was some shrimp, but
Well, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I
Once
mean,
in a blue
but
moon.
but
Yeah.
but that's the thing, you have to allow yourself some cheat days,
Mhm.
but that's why I like Lent as my reset time
Mhm.
every year because it gives me a good cleansing, and I'm too
Mhm.
guilty to cheat during Lent, so it's it's the perfect time of year to
Right.
do that, and
Yeah.
it kind of resets your brain with the sugar,
Mhm.
because when you go for 40 days without any sugar, it does. It resets your taste buds and your
Mhm.
brain that you don't even want it as
Right.
much.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. So what motivates you besides surviving 2 heart attacks? Is there anything else that motivates you to keep sticking with this and doing and
My grandson,
yeah.
I wanna be alive for him,
Mhm.
and he has already lost a grandparent, so I don't want him to lose another. Um, I really I really do wanna be around for him, and I hope to have more grandbabies, so, someday
Right. Note to
I
your
would.
kids.
Yeah, I always joke that, you spend the first 18 years trying to keep your kids from having sex, and then the next 18 trying to get them to.
Oh, that's
So,
pretty good.
yeah, so
Yeah.
maybe I'll have
Yeah.
some more someday,
There
but
was a video on the Today Show this morning of this couple that gave their mothers pictures of the sonogram, and one of them's like, "What is this?" And the other one's like, "Holy
yeah,
F,"
yeah,
and "Are you kidding me?" And they were screaming with joy. So yes, I get it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Um, I get it by watching other people because I don't have my own children. But
yeah,
so so some thoughts for women in this industry, because I think there are more women in the hospitality
mhm.
events industry. Do you have any suggestions or for us to think about and to pay attention to?
As far as,
Making
anything kind of wide open.
make kind of wide open or making sure that we don't have a heart attack. But yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I a couple of things, I guess. First of all is eating, right? Being
Hmm.
careful of what you're eating. And the other thing is get moving,
Yeah.
get up and stand. I try and use a stand-up desk if you can and
Hmm.
move your feet as much as you can. Sitting down all the time is really hard on you. My other issue is stress. I have a huge stress problem, and that probably is one of the big contributing factors. I am type A, and I am working really, really hard on trying to reduce my stress. And that's a hard one for me, and probably
Hmm.
is probably the hardest thing for me is trying to reduce my stress. And I know my coworkers are watching, and and they yell at me all the time about quitting work at the end of the day and not
Hmm.
taking it with, and the joke about me taking my computer to the hospital is no joke. It is a problem that I have. I I think I took half a day off for both of my heart attacks. Um, I just it's something I have to learn to be better about, and it is a high stress job that we have. This industry is tough. It's tough on people. I mean, we all know somebody who's had a heart attack at
Hmm.
work or at a function, or um, it's it's hard. And I think meditation helps, yoga helps, um, visualization, and I work on that a lot. I work on doing a I can't think of what it's called right now. I'm losing my words, but where I actually concentrate on opening my arteries and feeling them open, um, uh, and visualizing them open, and I can feel that. I can actually feel them open.
Wow.
I can make myself have the same feeling as when I take the medicine that you put under your tongue. I'm having
Hmm.
a hard time remembering everything right now. Um, um, but there's a drug that you take that you put under your tongue. I can't think of what it's called. That when you're having chest pain.
Okay,
Um,
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
yeah, but you stick that on your tongue and it helps open up your blood vessels fast. Um, and I can actually do that myself through visualization.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I practice that. I practice that all the time, and I practice
Hmm.
that when I lay down in bed, and I work really hard on trying to keep myself healthy and relaxed, and so those are things that I think are important for
Hmm.
women, not to have your job be our. Oh, okay.
What? Well, I have that problem too. So it is, and I take my laptop wherever I go as well. It's always in my trunk, if wherever, and like I don't need to take it everywhere. I mean,
Right.
I have a phone. I can suffice
Yeah,
on that. But somebody put in nitroglycerin. Is that what it
that's
is?
it. Yep.
That's it.
Thank you.
Okay, so nitroglycerin. Yep.
Yep,
Um,
yep.
and I just want to pipe in here. Facebook user who I can't figure out who it is, because I've gone onto Facebook and tried to find you, but I can't find you. It's okay to bother someone if you don't feel good or something's not right. And I
Yeah.
really think that is an important thing for us to remember across the
Mhm.
board, that it is. And then that person also piped in and said, it's okay not to work while you're having what might be a heart attack. Good
Yeah,
point. Yes,
yeah,
yes, yes,
absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
yes,
for
yeah.
sure. And that was the thing that I talked about in my video, is that we women, we are just not good at that. We are not
Hmm.
good at asking for help, and
Right.
in anything. So not good at asking for help when we think we're having a heart attack, but also not asking for help at home or at
Hmm.
work. Can somebody please help me make dinner? I don't
Right.
feel good tonight. I just need to
Hmm.
lay on the couch. Can somebody else make dinner?
Right.
Or maybe somebody could just order dinner,
Hmm. Right.
or,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. I do that to my mom all the time. I'm like, like, even unloading the dishwasher. I'm like, it is not your job every single day to unload the dishwasher. I can do that
Mhm,
for you. Right. I mean,
mhm, mhm.
it's just, let me do it. Just go sit down. I yell at
Yeah,
her all the time. Like, just go sit down.
yeah,
Yeah. And we do have to ask for the help for sure.
yeah. And even, our kids don't live at home anymore, but so many nights, I would ask the kids to do something. "Why do I have to do it?" Well, because that's why I had kids, so that I don't have to,
Hmm.
and it
Yeah.
is. You should not have to do all the work. And if you
Right.
have kids at home, darn it, put them to
Have
work.
them, put them to work. Right.
They should
Exactly.
they should be they should be doing stuff,
Hmm.
and if you have a partner, they should be doing half of the stuff, because 'cause
Right.
you're both working.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
even if you're a stay-at-home mom, dad, wife, spouse, whatever you are, stay at home, you also should not be having to do everything.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, I agree 100%. All right, I want to jump back here. Suzanne popped in here with the question. You mentioned your lunches at events are bad. As event profs, we should be serving food to keep our guests and us healthy. 100% agree, Suzanne. And it's really hard to do when you're looking at some of these meeting menus.
It is, and the cost, I understand, is
Mhm.
the problem. It's cost prohibitive to serve healthy food, and I'm not sure how we get around that.
Mhm. It's subsidizing the food that's healthy for us versus the food that's being used for other things.
Yeah,
That, yeah. But that's a
yeah,
whole nother government conversation. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, grilled chicken. I don't know because that's not what I do for a living.
Mhm.
I don't cost source those things, but
Mhm.
it seems like just skipping the sauces or getting the sauces on the
Mhm.
side and
Mhm.
grilled chicken or I know grilled fish is expensive, but grilled chicken and a sauce on the side or the
Mhm.
vegetables with a sauce on the side, steamed vegetables with a sauce on the side. That would help, at least if you
Mhm.
could do the sauces on the side, or if you're gonna
Right.
do a sauce, um, do a red sauce and not a creamy sauce or do I I
Right.
don't
Well,
I feel
even
bad making suggestions because I know somebody's out there screaming at me going, "Ah, you have no idea what it takes to put this on and how hard it is to find food," and I'm sorry to all of you people who do that for a living because I know it's awful.
well, and it's definitely gotta be hard, but I also think looking at spices instead of cream sauces, right? Like,
Mhm.
let's look at, adding some herb prevents or, oregano, things like that, just to cook the chicken or cook the steak or whatever you're cooking versus covering it with cream sauce. Because bring out the flavors of the food that we're eating, not cover
Right.
them up. Yeah.
And again, avoiding the salt, because
Mhm.
you see, you see some of those chefs who are trying to do that, and they do it. They do it, and the food tastes great, and I do it
Mhm.
at home, so why
Mhm.
can't you do it
Right.
for a crowd to use a
Mhm.
no salt, no salt,
Right.
option?
Mhm. Yeah. We definitely need to be getting some more nutritionists in the kitchen with some of these chefs, I think. And and I think it depends on where you are,
Mhm.
right? And kind of like going to the hospital, it depends on what chef you end up with at a convention center or a hotel or a doctor in the hospital, right? To figure
Yeah.
this out. Um, yes. And then Suzanne just piped in because she's a huge sustainability expert, which I love about her. It also makes the food recoverable as well.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Right. That's the other
Yep.
thing is
Mhm.
now you've got sauce all over stuff, and anything that didn't get served is hard to reuse
Right.
or
Exactly.
give away.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah, and in this week we were talking the Super Bowl gave a whole bunch of food away, and I'm sure it didn't have any kind of sauces on it. So yeah, Suzanne, that's a really good point. Thanks for bringing
Mhm.
that up.
Mhm.
Okay, so one there I'm sure there's so many tips that you have out there, but what does the question that I ask everybody, what does for you as a person who has a medical condition or had a had survived 2 heart attacks, what does a safe, sustainable, and inclusive dining experience mean and look like to you or taste like to you?
Oh, that's hard. For me, it's I guess ideally, if I can eat organic, I do. If I can have clean, I mean, really just clean um, food that has not been unprocessed, lightly processed food. So um, there are so many more options as far as going out now. Um, at a meeting, if I could be served something, um, so there's two different options, right? So if you're at like the buffet kind of things
Mhm.
that it's a that you can choose, that's nicer. They usually have um, something that's good to eat. You know,
Sometimes, yeah.
sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, I was amazed. I was at a women's event, and all they had for breakfast was sugary yogurt and um, and um, like croissants and donuts and stuff like that. Now, why would you do that at a women's event,
Why would you do that to anybody at any
right?
event? Just yeah, because sugar like levels go skyrocketing, which means your whole demeanor just goes down like this, right? Nobody's going to
Yeah,
be paying attention.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there was literally nothing to eat for breakfast. So
Wow.
so that hurts. That's you know exactly what you don't want. So for me, it's having fresh fruits and vegetables. I
Mhm.
mean, that's really all I'm looking for is fresh fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
And I
And
think
that's
most of us
all.
can eat that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Almost everybody can eat that.
Mhm. Yeah.
And a little bit of lean protein of some sort.
Mhm. And have you gotten into the lean proteins of the legumes and beans and things like that?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I have a pot, the Instapot.
Uh-huh.
It is the greatest machine ever for cooking beans. That's almost the only thing
Really?
I cook in it is beans.
Wow. Oh, good
Yeah,
to know.
yeah.
Okay.
Yep, I make red beans
Mhm.
all the time, red beans and rice. I love red beans. So throw your beans in, an onion, and there you go.
Now, there's Bean Day coming up. Oh, there was this Legumes Day. I have to look
Oh yeah.
Legumes Day because my friend, it's in July, I think. National Eat Beans Day, July 3rd. I
Okay.
think that's what it is. I'll have to ask Amelia about that because she was talking about it. But it is really talking about how to get more beans into our diet. And not that we want beans, everybody to eat beans 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because that would be a little bit
Yeah.
smelly. But I think making sure that we're adding beans to our diets on a regular basis and putting them in our events menus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Lentils, beans,
Hmm.
easy to eat. I mean, they're so easy to eat and they're inexpensive
Hmm.
and healthy and yeah, I eat a lot of beans. And my Instapot is my favorite tool ever for that because you can, I always forget to soak them, but you don't
Uh-huh.
have to worry about that with that. You put them in there for an hour, soak them for an hour, and then
Really?
yeah, that's the best part is you don't have to soak them overnight.
Wow. Oh, I need to go buy an Instapot. That sounds
Yeah.
like a great idea.
And the other
Yeah.
thing about it, I don't know if you eat meat, but the other part about it is that it has a sous vide function.
Uh-huh.
So you can defrost things, or you can use the sous vide function to like cook a piece of meat in there first, and then you just saute it quick. Um, so you can really do. I love the Instapot.
Okay.
Hmm.
All right, I'll have to try check that
And you
out.
and you can do eggs in there, so you can make the little egg white bites. So you can do
Mhm.
your eggs and mix them up with, like Starbucks has their little egg white things with
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
veggies in them. You can make
Uh-huh.
those in there, and then
Oh.
pop those in the freezer, so you can just grab a couple of those to go when you on the run.
Oh, that's a really good idea. Yeah,
Hmm.
I love making frittatas, you
Hmm.
know, which are crustless quiches,
Yep.
basically. And then, but putting them in a cupcake tin and cooking them in that, right? That
Yeah. Yeah.
easily pop them out and freeze them. Yeah.
And that's you get a round uh, the little plastic, the little plastic um, cupcake tins that you put in
Yep.
there to put the egg
Mhm.
bites in. Yeah,
Oh, okay. That's a great
yeah.
idea.
Silicone,
Okay.
that's the word I'm looking for.
Silicone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
All
even
right.
when you're traveling, if you need to do, fast food every once in a
Mhm.
while, you get in a jam and you need to do something like that. There are options like that
Mhm.
that you can get, like the Starbucks egg white things that aren't. I mean, they're high in sodium probably, but
Right.
at least you can avoid some of the fat and
Right.
um,
Well, and I'm a big proponent of doing exactly what you do, is going to the grocery store. I stay in Airbnbs a lot, or make sure I have a kitchenette. And I have been known to, and I still do, travel with hard-boiled eggs. And I put them in the carton, and if I don't have the ability to stay at an Airbnb or a place with a kitchenette, I carry my own hard-boiled eggs in the paper carton, wrapped with the rubber band, and bring them with me, because
Yeah.
it's that easy protein in the morning that will hold your stomach for a while. So
It
that's
does,
good.
it does, and I also will do, I have those reusable Ziploc bags,
Mhm.
and I stuff it full of celery and
Yep.
carrots and that, and I'll take that with me, and
All right. The
my
next time we're at a show, we're going to open up our food bag and just
yeah,
compare.
my purse is embarrassing, but
Hey, it's all right. It's all
yeah.
right. Yeah. Oh, we should definitely do that when we're together at another show. So.
And I do have a little mini Tabasco just in case, so.
Oh, okay. Well, good. Oh, thank you, Wendy. Thank you so much for being here today. And thank you to Suzanne and the Facebook user, who I still haven't figured out who you are, but I will after the fact, for chiming in. I think your story is amazing. And I'm so glad that you're here to tell us and share it
Thank
with
you.
us.
Thank you.
And I think we all need to be paying attention to our hearts in so many ways. So.
Absolutely.
Yes. Well, everybody, thank you for tuning in. This is Eating at a Meeting. We are here every Wednesday on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. So if you miss an episode, just come back and look at my profile and you can find it. And until next time, stay safe and eat well. Thanks.